I'd just like to welcome the Minister and to congratulate her on her position. I have, I suppose, a long history through the education system myself as a parent. I'm the former chair of the Home Education Network, so I wanted to take the opportunity, I suppose, today to speak about the fact that, yes, children are going back to school, and it's fantastic that we have in place now such a comprehensive plan, and that I hope that the Minister will adjust and make changes, seeing how schools are coping, seeing how children are coping, and seeing how the families and the staff in particular are coping. And obviously I've had many representations from school and was formerly a chair of a school board as well. We really need to look at seeing how the short-term measures don't impede the long-term future of these schools. So I'd like you to take that into consideration. Going back then to home education, I really welcome, and it was something that I really supported in the programme for Government, a Citizens' Assembly on Education. I think that now is the time that we really need to look at pedagogy and look at education and what it means for our society. Because what it means to educate is that we actually learn about the culture and learn about the society in which we are brought up in, learn how to be valuable members of our society. And what that means now is very different than what that meant even a year ago, but certainly a decade ago. And the education system simply isn't fit for purpose when we look at over 90% of schools are still Catholic. We need to address that, but we also need to address what it is that we're learning in school. I'd urge you to look at a fantastic programme on empathy, which is fully funded, and which Professor Pat Dolan at the UNESCO Chair of Child and Family in Galway was behind. Because I think that now, if we look at how teaching our children in a school setting what empathy really means, looking at the different cultures that we're surrounded with, this is the time to do it. As I say, I was the chair of the Home Education Network. 40% of 9-year-olds reported having been bullied in the previous year. That was the Growing Up in Ireland study. I hope that that will have changed, but I don't have full confidence that we have the staff numbers to ensure that that hasn't changed. So I think there are alternatives that are needed, and it's been referred to before that we do have a constitutional right to home educate, and more people may choose that. But there have been inequities there. It's been incredibly difficult to receive dental services and so on, to receive vaccinations when you're outside of a school system. It's been incredibly difficult to do the Leaving Cert when you're outside of a school system. But 50% of those who choose to home educate do so because the school wasn't working. They removed their children from school due to a variety of reasons, and that means that we have to ensure that those people are catered for. Before the pandemic, when you went on the Department of Education website, you were told that it was compulsory for children to go to school beyond the age of 6. Well, it's not actually compulsory, as I'm sure you know, and therefore it was closing off an avenue to people who were really struggling. And they were, many of the calls that I was receiving is, what are the other options when a child is struggling? Do they have to cry for 2 years in a row because they're, being bullied in a school system, or are we actually supporting them in other alternatives? So I know now, and I think that it's a really significant step that the 2014 legislation that put home education and home tuition, as been mentioned earlier, moved it from the Department of Education into TUSLA. I welcome the fact that it is now being moved back, because these aren't extreme situations. These are actually our families, and they are the same as anyone else, and they are being educated and should be treated the same. So I won't, I suppose, go any further on it, other than to say that I welcome your position. I look forward to working with you, and I look forward to bringing an alternative view to education, which I think is valuable when we're talking about a society that is diverse as ours.